Hello and welcome to Out of State DMing. I am your host, lluksblackheart, and this is your co-host.
Iskian, who has a headset today.
Join us today as we talk about Rangers, and we'll be going over their abilities and then discussing more about them. I do apologize for the late delay for today. We had multiple problems we have to get, and I just noticed there's a slight glitch. Just we are well, at least I am experiencing minor internet delays at the moment, so some of the stuff may seem a little bit janky. But we will try our best.
So that's why you
Uh,
looked frozen for a moment.
yeah, it because it's a little bit janky. Uh, but today we will be like I said, we will be discussing and going over Rangers. I'm not gonna lie, Rangers are probably easily one of my favorite classes. Um, our consistent viewer, Saintly, states that it's not a stream without technical difficulties. He is correct, and this particular channel has had its problems in the past. Um, but I said Rangers are. I said they're easily one of my favorites. Despite any problems that may or may not have or what people have. But we're gonna dive into the thick of it. As you can see, they're really great attacks. Because they have the same attack as like a paladin and a fighter and stuff, which is equal to the level, which is one of the reasons why they're good. Good fortitude and flex in a bad will. So, well, my brain froze for a moment. So they are really good at just not caring about like diseases and poisons as much as everyone else while being able to go, good luck hitting me with that fireball. They do get several features that make them really good, like for instance wild empathy, which works just like the wild empathy of a druid because it's the same exact thing. Uh which is really great. So if you want to be good with animals to de-escalate problems, right, you don't have to be a druid. You can be a ranger. They
Oh,
get
you don't really have you don't have to play with animals though.
Yeah, you don't have to. They get track, which is probably one of the best feats you can get because despite what people think if you don't have the feat, tracking things becomes pretty impossible. Just the way tracking works is it does rely on you having a decent survival, but if the if the DC is greater than 10, which means it doesn't have to uh be high, I mean really high for you to have problems. It can be moderately low. Well, so if it's greater than 10, aka meaning 11 or higher, you can't track it. You can find tracks, but you cannot have the ability to know what direction it is, what they're going in, unless the DC is 10 or less.
And
Which
there's a campaign that is active that we've actually had that problem.
Yeah, so that you have to hope to God that it's a really fresh. The ground is as soft as possible. The size of the creatures is really big. The number of creatures is a lot. Otherwise, most common grounds are firm or very firm, which does not help you at all because you're looking at uh above a DC 10 just to be able to follow that. So you can find it, but go, well, we found tracks, but we can't do anything with them because no one has to track feats. Yay. So it is a very important feat, despite what people may think. Then, as you can see, as they get higher up in the levels, they get combat styles, the feat endurance, which does help. It helps you sleep in up to medium armor. It gives you bonuses for endurance based things like starvation, thirst, force marching. They get an animal companion that works just like the Druid's animal companion stuff, except that it's their ranger level -3. Improved combat style, woodland stride, which works just like the druids. Uh,
Yes,
Swift,
go through undergrowth
yeah.
and
Make
everything without a problem.
Yeah, it's one of those that if the entire party had woodland stride, moving through a forest or a marsh becomes so much easier because you don't have to worry about hindering terrain. You have to worry about blocking terrain. So instead of like moving through a forest, you're automatically, because of all the underbrush, roots, and block trees that block a direct line, your speed is immediately cut in half. If you have within stride, you only have to worry about the things that you can't go through. So you instead of having a 50% reduction in travel time, it's like only a 25 because you can't go through trees. You have to go still around the trees. So like right there, it does greatly decrease time. Evasion, just like rogues do, so they have a I'm either taking damage or I'm not. Favorite enemy. I'll go into greatly details about that in a moment, but that is a fantastic ability unless it's forgotten about. Camouflage is as long as you meet proper conditions, which we'll go over momentarily, you get a bonus to not being seen when you're outside. Uh, at 17th level, they get probably one of the most broken abilities, hide in plain sight. And for those who don't know what that is, normally when you're trying to hide, if you are being observed by anything, you auto fail, meaning you can roll, but it auto fails because you're being observed. That does include party members observing you. Now, as a DM sidebar, a DM can go, "Oh, I will, uh, I will simply go, oh, you are stealthed, but the people who are observing you auto pass their perception checks against you because they can see you. So anything not observing you, you're hiding against. Anything observing you still sees you. So therefore, the rules are still being followed, but they have been DM altered to still function while letting the party not screw over the character. So unless you're a rules lawyer, a DM can simply just go, "Oh, you fail first the party, but not the bad guys." At fourth level, they do get access to spells. Uh, so they so just like a paladin would, they do have some decent spells, and it goes all the way up to fourth level. So they are not super powerful spellcasters, even though they
No,
do
but
get
some of the
some
nature
decent
spells they that some of the nature spells that they get,
are worth using.
yes, they
Like
are. Plus, they can do healing.
in the future episodes when we go over what spells a ranger does possess, you'll be able to see just how potent of a spellcaster they could be, but they are considered a half caster, just like a paladin. So if you're trying to be a divine caster that relies on nature based the divine spells, don't go ranger, go druid, because again, rangers they can be great spellcasters, but it's not their primary function because they go between a fighter and a druid. Kind of how the paladin is a fighter cleric, these are a fighter druid. So you get multiple things to cover multiple fields: spellcasting, stuff to do with animals, combat. Hence the combat styles. Now, the first ability we will be exactly covering is favorite enemy. Now, favorite enemy is super good. It may be restrictive, but it's super good because, as you can uh, see right there, uh, when you pick your first favorite enemy, you get a +2 on bluff, listen, sense, motive, spot, and survival checks against that creature type when using any of those skills. You also do additional +2 damage against that creature. And the list is not a small list. And the examples are here on the right, while the main type or subtype is here on the left. The types are, like I said, it's aberration, animals, constructs, dragons, elementals, fays, multiple different types of humanoids, magical beasts, oozes, outsiders, which are specific to either a plane or a alignment, plants, undead, and vermin. And then it gives the examples, so those at home would know. Like beholders are aberrations. So if you're a ranger that's favorite foe aberrations, you're good at hunting them down because that bonus right there. And then you're
Common
good
though,
at
it's like
just
kobolds and goblinoids and
uh
stuff, and more humanoid, unless you're
well when it
because
comes
the environments that you're normally in don't do plant animals or aberrations or anything like
yeah,
that.
if it's one of those things that uh you have to make sure that your favorite enemy is something you're going to actually be running into, because if you pick, let's say, oozes, and then you look at the DM like 20 game sessions and go, why haven't run into any oozes? Well, there's two reasons. Either A, the random chart he's using for random encounters don't have oozes on them, or it's just not coming up, which is technically not the DM's fault.
But who wants an ooze anyway?
Yeah.
Oozes are not easy to destroy and a
Yeah,
pain in the butt anyway.
yeah, they're pain in the butt and stuff anyways, and not uberly common. It's the same
You
thing
just
just like in the humanoids. You can't just pick humanoid and it foot covers all. You have to be specific to humanoid what? Like humanoid aquatic. So if it's an aquatic humanoid, you get your bonuses against them. And it's things like merfolk. Just despite being half fish, they're not monstrous humanoids. Humanoids, they get the definition of humanoid aquatic, which when we get to future episodes where we start going over some of the monsters, we'll eventually get to such things as merfolk. Um, but then, as you can see, if you want to be good against dwarves, you choose dwarves. And it's not just evil dwarves, it's anything that counts as a dwarf. If you want to be good against goblins, you can pick humanoid goblinoid. But it doesn't just cover goblins, it covers everything in that grouping, including hobgoblins, bugbears, and then even some of the more uncommon to rarer ones, like one of my personal favorites, Varg, which are a type of goblinoid. Uh, you can pick human, so if you really want to just either be really good at lying or like I want to be assassin, and most of the stuff will probably going to be targeted are going to be human, so it's be really good. If you want to be good against kobolds, you pick humanoid reptilianoid. Does yes, they are reptilianoids. No, they are not dragonoids. Despite the fact that a lot of things go, they share this, they share that with dragons. They're this. They're reptilians, and that subtyping also covers all forms of lizard folk, and then a few other races that may make you think they're a dragonoid, but they're not. Like there's a race called Dragonkin. Yes, it's called Dragonkin, but it's a reptilianoid. It's one of those catch 22s that it's called this, it looks like this, but it's this. And a big thing is each time you get a new favorite enemy, because you get up to five. Each time you pick you get a new one. You pick from the list, and it starts at a base plus two. But you also, with that new one, you pick either your first or your second favorite enemy, and you get an additional plus two. So, for instance, if you started with uh, being magical beasts as the first one, and you're like, well, we're not running that many magical beasts, but we're running into a lot of dangerous animals, so I'm gonna have my second one be animals. Animals, they're both plus two, but because you picked got a second one, you now get to pick one of those two to get additional plus two. So you pick animals to get that additional plus two. So now you get a plus four against animals and a plus two against magical beasts. Then when you get access to your third one and you pick undead,
Undead.
it starts at a plus two. And yeah, you laugh. It starts at a plus two, but then you pick either your first, second, or third one to get additional plus two, which you can pick animals again to have it become a plus six, or you can have undead become plus four, or your animals, your magical beast become plus two. And you can do that each time you get a new favorite enemy. So when you get your fifth favorite enemy, you'll have five different ones, and like I said, the base plus two, not counting the fact that when you get a second one of those two gets additional plus two. Third one, another plus two to them. Fourth one, another plus two. Fifth one, another plus two. Which means if you want to be really good at just I kill animals, you can have a plus two first, like the magical beasts, undead, monsters, humanoids, and plants. But then because you picked the animal one every single time for your bonus, you'll have a plus 10 versus animals, which means the bonus to bluff, listen, sense, motive, spot, and survival is a 10. So you become really good
And you get a
at
plus,
perception.
and it's a plus 10 to
Yeah,
damage.
yeah. So you get, as I said, it's a plus 10 to being able to hear an animal, plus 10 to being able to spot an animal, plus 10 to tracking the animal. So you pretty much become the greatest hunter in the world because you're getting that plus 10. And then because whenever you damage them, and a specific weapon damage, not generalized damage. So, not to spells, not to traps, but to whatever weapon you are currently using, it's a plus 10. So, a lot of animals are going to be looking at you, go, oh, please don't hit me because that's probably going to one shot me. Please don't. While you're like, smack. Yeah. There's Strack, there's Wild
But
Empathy.
take care of boars.
Well, I mean, they have a boars have a base 28, or yeah, 29 hit points. You have to get them to neck 10 to make them stop. So getting to level 20, because that's when your fifth favorite enemy getting plus 10 on damage for first an animal, first whatever you makes getting rid of a boar that much easier. Because yes,
Getting rid of boars
boars
is
boars are a pain in the
difficult.
butt.
Yes,
A pain in
I
the
know.
butt.
I understand.
There's a reason why they're a
Yesterday,
CR2 creature by themselves.
yesterday,
Um,
multiple encounters with boars and not
it,
messing with the boars.
it yeah, they're not fun. You trying to do your best to trigger them to either not engage in combat or flee should be your primary thing, because if they're not running away from you, they're running towards you, and a 300-pound animal coming at you with the ferocity of one of us is dying and it's probably not going to be me should make you sweat a little bit.
That's just one. We had
Eight.
packs of eight.
Well, there was a pack of six, a pack of seven. Well, a herd of six, a herd of seven, and a herd of eight. Last night, because it was all it was random on how many were there, and
And all of them were a no.
yeah, pretty much.
Not fighting any amount of
Yeah,
boars
yeah.
with
This one, person pops up and
Yeah.
uses their staff of frost to go, here's a cone of cold, and here's 10 die, 8, well, 10 die such worth of damage. Yay, 28 damage. Yeah, because they're not used to the temperature they ran. But it's one of those, you just did 28 damage and they didn't drop. They just bolted. That that should concern you because again, they're CR2 creatures. And they tanked 28 damage.
Just don't mess with them
Yeah,
unless you want
so
to die.
so it's one of those unless you have something to guarantee you're going to one shot them, fighting boars is not fun. And it's
Nor
not
advisable.
because I'm a pain in the ass DM that wants to kill the party. It's just boars.
You
Even
are
when you're
though.
fighting one, I don't have to try to kill the party. Everyone has a heart attack. That's how easy it is. Um, so even fighting a single boar can be troublesome, and that's why wild empathy helps.
Yes.
Because again, it works just like the druids, where you roll a d20, add your level, add your charisma bonus, and hopefully you roll really, really good to turn a hostile creature to not hostile. Because if you're roll high enough to not make it hostile, but not good enough to make it friendly, then it's like okay, uh now it's now it's unfriendly, so it's not necessarily gonna I want to kill you. It's more like oh you piece of trash. You're boom. It issues it. It's like you need to get away before I escalate. Because now it wishes you ill will, or you make it indifferent where it's like, eh. Unless you want to start something, I'm just gonna mosey on this way. You always hope for indifferent at minimum, minimum. But that's always a good ability for someone to have in the party because there's some animals that make a boar look easy. There's a reason why one of my players has PTSD because of an animal gave it to her because it snuck up to her in the middle of the night and kind of forced the party to have her resurrected. This last she saw was a big toothy mouse clamping down on her. A mouth clamping down on her.
That's a big toothy mouse.
Yeah. Combat styles are fun but annoying because either A, people don't fully understand them, even though it's easy to understand, or B, people try to say it should be different, it should be this. It's like no, because once you
There's
pick a
archery and two
direction,
weapon fighting.
yeah, you're either going two weapon fighting or archery. You can't mix and match it. So when you get the improved one, you can't take the one you didn't take because your combat style is either archery or two weapon, and it's
I
just those
personally
two.
prefer two
It's
weapon.
yeah. Well, it goes into styles because despite what people say, just because it's called Ranger does not mean you need to do range combat. It doesn't even mean you're the best at range combat. It just means at certain levels you get free feats for it. Because
To
as you
improve
can
your ability.
pick if you pick two weapon combat, well yeah, two weapon combat, you are treated as having the two weapon fighting feat, even if you do not meet the normal prerequisites. Which in layman's terms, you get the feat and it doesn't you're like oh I have a low this or I don't have this. Well, your combat style doesn't care this your tree is having it even if you don't meet the normal parameters if you
And
choose.
when Lux is talking about not being the best archer, if you remember when we were talking about fighter, they can out damage a ranger
Yeah, they can outrange a
because
ranger.
of their feats.
Yes, they can outrange a ranger and out two weapon fighting a ranger. A ranger because a ranger is more than just these two things while a fighter is well, it's in the name. Their entire thing is I'm good at just fighting things, while a ranger is supposed to be
Rangers
more.
are
They're more multifaceted.
they're a combination of fighter and
Yeah, druid.
druid.
So they're supposed to be multifaceted. So if you're trying to be a two weapon combatant or a ranged combatant, Ranger, it's not a bad choice, but it's not the best choice. Go fighter. Because if you, again, a ranger, you're multifaceted. You're more than the sum of one of your parts. Unlike a fighter, which is like, give me combat feats. I'm just going to be really good with this weapon, and I'm going to make everything that fights comes at the party regret coming at the party. And that's one of the misconceptions because like even if you select archery, you're treated as having rapid shot without needing to get the prerequisites, which point blank shot is the prerequisite for rapid shot. If you don't have point blank shot, well, you still get rapid shot because you're a ranger. And that's the difference. A fighter has to have all the prerequisites to get those things. Rangers don't. But that's also part of the problem is those other feats are needed to get other feats that the combat style doesn't give you. And then as we get into higher level ranger, when you get improved combat style, if you're going archery, you get mini shot, which is a very potent feat because starting at 6th level, you get to shoot an additional arrow. You arrow whenever you make an attack, with the downside of a -4 to hit because you get a -2 per arrow, and you have to be like within 30 feet. So your accuracy drops, your damage goes up. Specialty damage only gets applied to the first arrow. So like if you have elemental stuff on your weapon or it's a favorite enemy, that's first arrow. Second arrow is just non-specialty damage. So if it's a magical bow, then yay. Uh, my nose is giving me problems despite the fact I already took allergy medicine. So I'm gonna have to take more allergy medicine this real quick. Don't do drugs, kids.
Be in charge
So,
of your nose, Lux.
eh,
Just be in charge of your nose.
if I was a cleric, I would cast cure disease. I would actually cast the heal spell and just be completely normal. Um, no, so it's
No, that
despite the
wouldn't work.
bonuses, it's still a great feat, and not to mention the fact that for every 4 base attack bonus you have over 6, so at level 10 and at level is it 10? Yeah, at level 10 and then level no, it's for every 5. So at level 11 and then level 16, you get an additional arrow because it caps out at 4 arrows. With yeah, downside, you get an additional -2 to hit per arrow. So at
There's
level
magic
11
that
and
can
sit,
fix
yeah,
that.
there's stuff to fix it. And with the upside of you get an additional die 8 to the damage roll. So yeah, your accuracy drops. There's counterbalances to it, but your damage goes up. So if anyone tries to say that ranged combatants cannot keep up damage wise with melee combatants, exhibit A right here. Uh, if you're going two weapon fighting or combat, you get improved two weapon fighting, which gives you a second attack with your offhand weapon, which is great. It's wonderful. So you're getting even more attacks. Uh, combat style mastery. If you're and this is at level 11, if you're going down archery, you're treated as having improved precise shot. Even if you don't meet the normal prerequisites. And I can't remember what improved shot precise shot does. I don't want to speak out my ass, so
You do
I
that anyway.
for I am Cornholio.
You're not Cornholia. I am Cornholia. Do you need TP for your bunghole?
Yeah. What improved precise shot does is you ignore AC bonus granted by anything less than total cover. The missed chance granted to a target by anything less than total cover. Total cover and total concealment provides the normal benefits against the range attack. In addition, when you shoot or throw ranged weapons at a grappled opponent, you automatically strike the opponent you have chosen. Meaning, if there's a grappler in the party and you get improved shot, you're like, grapple him. Just then they grapple and you choose I'm that target there. Just like I said, you're considered automatically hitting. You still have to roll to see if it's a crit or not, but you're auto hit. So regardless, you're hitting them, which means you're just running up and going, yay, within 30 feet, so I can use mini shot. So I'm shooting with 3 arrows. He's grappled, auto confirmed hit. That's broken because your accuracy penalties you're getting are being totally altered by the fact that it's grappled, it's dead now. You also become the ultimate counter to any monster that does grappling based things. For instance, one of the most shredded creatures that do grappling is the canopy creeper. It's a big plant monster that likes to grapple things to kill them. Well,
It can be creepy.
this archer goes, "Oh, I choose that vine, and because it's grappled and I have improved precise shot, I'm auto hitting that vine. Let's see if it's a crit or not." So it's just boom. It
Oh
also
wait,
means
the ranger gets precise shot.
at level 11 because of
Okay,
combat
okay,
mastery, it gets it for free,
right. Okay, I
which
got
means you
lost
don't have to
because
have a precise shot or point blank shot or a dex of 19 or base attack of 11 because you don't need those things to get it. Even though if you don't have point blank shot or precise shot, I'm going to look at you like you're stupid. Because one, point blank shot gives you +1 to attack and damage rolls when you're within 30 feet, and precise shot lets you ignore the -4 penalty to shooting into melee. So it's like
why you would wait till 11 to
to
deal
get feats that
deal
greatly
to
benefit
yeah,
you sooner rather than later. Yeah. But improved precise shot is that
yes,
potent,
especially if you're going
which means like, oh,
right. Well,
we're
especially
in
if
a
you're going
fog
archer.
cloud. He gets partial concealment against me shooting him. Improved precise shot goes, huh, not against
No,
me. So it becomes a very big game of yes, I can do this. No. But it's also one of those things that if you want to be good at range combat, but not necessarily have it be your entire stick, you can just rely on the combat style for your range feats, which is not recommended. And you can take other feats that help you with spell casting or melee damage or spell casting. Did I say spell casting? Oh, never mind. So you can take all these feats that help you with other aspects so you can be more multifaceted, or you can take those additional feats and over capitalize on the improved combat styles to just make you a better individual. Uh, wow, my brain just stopped working. Yeah, it's like right there at third level, you get endurance, which again lets you sleeping up the medium armor, so you don't have to actually take off your armor. +4 on force marches, heat based checks to resist temperature. Well, to resist temperature based effects such as extreme heat or cold, bonuses against starvation or thirst, because yes, there is rules for that in the game. Animal companion, like I said, it works just like the Rangers does, but you're at your level -3. So you can still get like I want a wolf. It's like, well, you have to wait till level 4, and you're considered a first level druid for it, so you don't get as your wolf won't be as powerful as like if a druid had a wolf. His wolf is going to be more powerful because he's going to be level 4, so he's using the second tier bracket of that chart. There is a feat to help with that, by the way, which is technically primary for rangers, but you don't have to be a ranger. You just have to have an animal companion feature. Excuse me. So there's ways out of that loophole. Spells work just like the how normal spellcasters work. It relies on wisdom for your ability on what level you can cast, what bonus spells you get, what the DCs are. Just like just like the druid or the cleric, you're not limited to just uh, uh, a small amount of spells that you know. You, any spells of that level you know, and each day you can prep each one. Yes, you prep. They are not spontaneous casters. I kind
A
of wish they
spontaneous
were.
caster is the cleric, but that's magic. But that's healing.
They cure spells. They can spontaneously cast cure spells, but
Right.
rangers don't get that. They're not spontaneous casters like the sorcerer is, which is one of the reasons why sorcerer is good. Woodland Stride, we already kind of went over that earlier, but I'm going to restate that that's really good because it helps you uh, by going through stuff. It also is you don't suffer any damage or impairments from natural uh, overgrowths or similar terrain. It has to be magical. So the spell entangle, wall thorns, those are magical things. So if it's being produced by a creature, feated by supernatural, extraordinary, or magical, Wooden Shrine doesn't work against it because it's not a natural thing. Swift Tracker is, like I said, it helps you with tracking faster. Does normally you have when tracking your speed is cut in half. A ranger may move at full speed while tracking without taking the -5 penalty. You can only take a yeah, he only takes a -10 penalty instead of the normal -20 while moving up to twice your normal speed while tracking, which a -10 is still a really big hit, but you have to remember, unlike everyone else who's in order to ignore all penalties are moving at 15 feet around, you can move they can go, oh, I can move at twice my more normal and only take a 10. Everyone else is going, if I do that, I'm taking a 20, which means their likelihood of finding something is non-existent or low, while you still actually have a chance. As you can see, evasion is still super awesome. Just it says there, if you make a successful saving throw against an attack that normally deals half damage on a successful save, such as the fiery breath from a red dragon or a fireball, you take no damage. So it's pretty much full damage or no damage, nowhere in between. Camouflage. Uh, at 13th level or higher, you can hide a skill in any sort of natural terrain, even if the terrain doesn't grant cover or concealment. Because what that particularly means, and this is a misconception about stealth, is if you're trying to stealth in a area where you stand out, like it's a well lit hallway. There's no tables, chairs, or anything in the hallway but you in that well lit hallway. You're not invisible. You're not hiding in that hallway. If someone looks down that hallway, they're gonna go, "Why is there a person trying to sneak in this hallway?" Because again, problem. There's no shadows because it's all well lit, nothing there. In wilderness, you can run into certain areas like, oh, this is a wide open field, or you're standing between two trees, and the creature is over here, so like there's nothing between you and it. You can't particularly technically be out in the open and hide because they're gonna see you. You have to have stuff that to some degree either blocks line of sight or gives you some sort of cover. That's why sneaking in the shadows is better than sneaking in bright light. This goes, oh, you're out in nature. You don't actually need super tall grass. You don't need trees. You don't need bushes. You don't need rocks to successfully hide out in nature. So it's kind of like pulling a John Cena moment, but it actually works. Like, you can't see me. That's also
Can.
where hide in plain sight, which I like to call it hips because it's hip.
I love hide in plain sight.
Yeah. Um, just like
Well lit
normally,
hallway. I'm still hiding.
yeah, yeah, crowded hallway, still hiding because it doesn't care if you're being observed. Boom.
It doesn't care
But
if there's light. You just disappear from plain
yeah,
sight.
but the Rangers hide in plain sight has a stipulation. While in any sort of natural terrain, you can use the hide skill while being observed. Key words: natural terrain. So when I say people either don't read, misread, or skip over, that's part of the problem. They're like, we're in a city. I'm level 17. I have hips. I'm going to stealth. It's like, you're a ranger. Yeah, you're not natural terrain. I still have hips. It says natural terrain. You're in a crowded street. No. If you're a rogue, does memory serves rogues get it? Theirs, I
Yes.
believe, is worded different. And that's where wording either saves a character or bends it over and gives it a nice spanking. This is just like how camouflage says natural terrain. A ranger's hips says natural terrain. If you want hide in plain sight without that stipulation, you have to take the feet version of it, which requires you to have a 17 dex and like 9 ranks in both hide and move silently. And I'm getting messages. Cracknox. Uh, so to summarize the entire class, as long as there's no misconceptions, as long as there is no misreading, as long as the DM and the player actually have dialogue, a bunch of this stuff works perfectly. If you don't have proper communication, your favorite enemy isn't going to come into play. For like I said, because for several reasons. Firstly, you're choosing the wrong enemies. So if you so if you're if the DM isn't clear on what commonly you're going to end up running into, you're going to start off with the wrong favorite enemy. If you misread and or well misread, don't read how favorite enemy works, it becomes misinterpreted because when I say There's people out there that go, I get +2 on everything versus this thing here. They're literally like, I attack it +2. It's like, no, it doesn't add to attack. It adds damage. I'm using diplomacy. It doesn't say that you get a bonus diplomacy. So it's like, did you read it? It says I get a read what the bonus goes to. Read the ability. If you don't read how some things like camouflage and hips, where it says natural terrain, if you don't read that, or a DM doesn't enforce it, or the DM isn't familiar with it, you can end up sliding on things, or you're going to get into an argument with your DM on whether it works or not.
Doesn't.
Yeah. So it's like, if you don't use your level 1, 3, 6, 9, and 12 feats to help support your combat style, you're not necessarily in the wrong. You're just not going to
But
be as good
why?
as you think you are. Because the amount of players I've ran across that are like, I'm going to do two weapon fighting. It's like, yeah, you do get two weapon fighting, improved two weapon fighting, and like greater two weapon fighting. So it's like all this really good stuff. But if you don't take any other melee related feats to help support it, you're not going to actually be that good. And if you go look at the feats, there is feats to support it. It's the same thing if you go with the range. Yeah, you get rapid shot. Yeah, you get meter shot. Yeah, you get improved precise shot. But if you don't have point blank shots or precise shot, you're not, unless you're relying on people doing grappling, you're not going to feel like Legolas. The fighter's going to show up and outperform you without trying because you're not getting the feats that support that. There's like there's point blank shot,
Was
precise shot,
Legolas a
far
ranger?
shot. The what?
Was Legolas a ranger? Because Aragorn was a ranger.
Legolas it is counted as a ranger.
Okay.
It's one of the things that if we're going to get into Middle Earth stuff, uh, they're both technically rangers, and the way their ranger stuff works is not 100% same as how D&D ranger stuff works,
Right.
but they're
Well,
both
it's
rangers.
Middle Earth.
Not because like oh they just use the bows. It's because they're both rangers.
Right. Well, because Aragorn
One
is more
more,
like the ranger that we're talking about right now.
yeah, because he's good at
Legolas,
two weapon fighting and range. Legolas doesn't really do two weapon fighting, so he's more centered
no,
around.
Legolas does two weapon fight, and he also does the bow. But Aragorn is the tracker and the nature guru, and um,
Well, that's why I
he
said
only
he,
uses
he
one
is
sword.
technically more of a ranger, but Legolas is actually still a ranger. He's just because his elven stuff, a lot of people placate the elven part more than anything else because like how the elves see the world. Because technically speaking, if elves exist today, they would be part of flat Earth society. Because
Right.
elves don't see the curvature of the Earth; everything's flat to them. And I'm not even kidding. That's how their sight works. So that drop off of the curve does not exist. So it's like
Right. Anyway,
cheating people. Um, but yeah. So if you're over reliant on just the features to be the very best there ever was, you're kind of failing to a degree unless you're not as I said, unless you're trying to be more multifaceted. If you're being multifaceted, that's perfect because you're covering multiple bases, not just one. But if you're trying to cover that base, but you're not doing all this here, you're gonna fail. And you're going to look at the DM and go, why me? Because again, There's multiple parties where multiple people have looked at me throughout the years and gone, why am I not able to do this? Why am I not able to do that? And I look at them and go, because you're claiming to be the better archer in the group, but you're just relying on your combat style. But that makes me great. It's like, no, it helps you be great, but it doesn't cover the fact that you don't have this here, which is doing this here. And if you look at the fighter who has those, that's why he's outperforming you. It's because he has these here. You're doing this, and it's not working. He's doing it, and it's working. Same with two weapon fighting. Fighting. It's great and all, but take any and all feats you can that support it. So if you want to be like, if you want to be like I am Aragorn the Mighty, and you want to be good at like, I can do weapon fighting, take the feats that do it. Take the feats that support two weapon fighting. Uh, Run with it. But remember, a ranger is supposed to be multifaceted. A ranger is supposed to help fill in any and all gaps it can. It's supposed to make everything easier on the fighters and the druids because of magical stuff, nature stuff, and combat stuff. It's
Well,
supposed to be
it
there.
also it's more if you don't have a druid,
Yeah, it is
it
more like if
helps
there
a
is
lot.
no druid or the druid sucks, if you don't have a ranged combatant or a melee combatant, if you don't have someone with with actual like doing smartly with spells, they can help again. They can help with spells. They can help with nature stuff. They can help with combat stuff. They're supposed to be multifaceted. Play to the
It's a
strengths
support class.
of being multifaceted because you're unless you're trying to overfocus, like he said, you're more support than you are any one of those three things. People play it as one of those three things and they try to over focus in it and then they wonder why they're not as good as their counterparts. Because they'll go, I'm going to be better than the druid. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, no. Because the druid, it's like your wild empathy and your level 4 uh, abilities of getting the cannon and spells lets you help the druid. Doesn't make you eat his equal. The only thing that you're up there with him is wild empathy. That's it. But they can use spells to immediately augment all their stuff, and their spells are going to be longer lasting and more effective than your spells. Because again, you're not supposed to be a primary spellcaster. You're not supposed to be trying to outperform the druid. You're supposed to be supporting the druid. You're supposed to be supporting the party by easing all of these things. They're not the best spellcaster. They're good spellcasters, they're effective spellcasters, but the druid, the cleric, the sorcerer, the wizard, hell, even the bard are going to be outperforming them with magic because they not only get it level sooner, they get it's all their spells are more effective, longer lasting. So you are just like the paladin, you're supporting them with it. When it comes to combat, yeah, they're good at combat. They're effective at combat. While it's two weapon fighting or ranged combat, they do make excellent combatants. Arguably, they make better combatants than they do when it comes to doing stuff with nature or spells, mainly because the base attack, the hit points, the saving throws, and the combat styles do make them really good at just defeating and fighting enemies. So it's easier to fill that role than it is the rest. but don't placate to just one role. Try to be uh try to be good at one but okay with the others. Occasionally take a feat or two that helps you with animal stuff, helps you have a better animal companion. Take a feat that makes your spells a little bit more effective. Don't just over specialize. And if you do try to over specialize, actually do it. Uh, just like I said, the Mighty Ranger, if done correctly, can be super good, super effective, super helpful. Make everyone go, I am glad we have a Ranger. Just don't be the reason the party is failing things. Don't underplacate things and just take your time, read everything, and if you feel you screwed up, go back and forth with the DM, especially when it comes to the favorite enemies. Because that's the biggest way people fail is they assume they're going to be running into a lot of this, but then they don't. Because I've ran a lot of games where people are like, I'm going to take constructs, and then they make it to level 15, not fighting a single construct, and they picked it, and they're like, I have a +4 first constructs. It's like, the party never fought constructs. Why are you going constructs? Just in case. It's like, so if you don't pay attention, bad things happen. Uh so we are going to end it with that. Uh so like I said, super great, super fun, can be super effective, super reliable as long as you're not trying to hyper focus. So don't try to compete for anyone in those roles because you're not there to be competition, you're there to help.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. Uh remember to like and subscribe and leave comments. Uh we will see you next week. Well, we will be talking about rogues. So
Yeah.
good night and sleep tight.